Hi guys, and welcome back to Beauty Fortified. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sue, and today is all about eyeshadow for beginners. Now, one of the topics that often comes up amongst my friends and my peers is that they would love to wear eyeshadow, but they just don't know how to apply it. They don't know where to start. They don't know what palettes to choose. They don't know what tools to use. So I thought I'd do a video today just outlining a technique for beginners and also taking you through the brushes that you might find quite useful and how to choose an eyeshadow palette. Now, it can be really overwhelming. If I was getting into makeup or I decided that I wanted to start wearing eyeshadow, if I went to a beauty counter and I was met by something like this, I would be completely intimidated and I would probably run a mile. And it really doesn't surprise me that people do find it so overwhelming. So I've got a couple of tips for you today. And it really doesn't have to be overwhelming. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are what tools you need. Well, you probably need about 3 brushes. I've narrowed it down to 3. And the brushes that you're going to need are these. So you're going to need a blending brush for the crease. Now this is a Wet n Wild one. It's nothing special, but it gets the job done. Then you're going to find a pencil brush very useful. I absolutely love my pencil brushes. They're great for giving your eyes some definition and also for lining the lower lid. So a pencil brush is very useful. And then you might need a bigger shading brush. And this is just to blend out all the harsh edges once you've applied your eyeshadow. And now onto palettes. Where do you start? So my suggestion would be to start with something like Wet n Wild and get one of their quads. Now they make some really good ones. The quality is really not bad and they are affordable, so these are a really good place to start. The other thing is that they actually do give you instructions on the back of the palette as well, so they're really user-friendly from that point of view. So when you're buying a palette, what are the shades to look for? So there are 3 basic shades that you'll need. You're going to need a transition shade, which is a shade that's going to be slightly darker than your natural eyelid shade. You're going to need a defining color, which needs to be a little bit darker than that, and that you're going to use for your outer corner and your lower lid. And then you're going to need something for your mobile lid, and you can use a matte or a shimmer. It's completely up to you. So when it comes to choosing a palette, you need to try and see if they have those 3 basic things in the palette. So the palette that I'm using today is also by Wet n Wild. It's called Nude Awakening, and this is, this is slightly larger than what you'd need, but it really is quite good value and quite affordable. And what I really like about these bigger ones is that they have 2 transition shades. So they have one that is light, and then they've got one that's slightly darker, and you would use the darker one if you wanted to darken up your makeup for an evening look. And then they also have a couple of shimmers in the palette and a couple of mattes as well. So these ones are really good as a starter. And now we're going to get onto the application, and I'm going to show you some basic techniques. Now I have done some videos on hooded eyes because my eyes are slightly hooded, but these techniques are universal. So whether your eyes are hooded or deep set, this is more about placing color, where to place it, and what colors to place where. So if you'd like to see that, keep on watching. So I have done the one eye just to speed things up a little bit. Starting with the Nude Awakenings palette, I'm going to go in with the transition shade here on the left, and I'm going to apply that all over the lid with the Wet n Wild crease brush. And I just take it a little bit higher than the crease because my eyes are hooded, so I just like to give the illusion of depth. So you just brush this all over the lid because it creates a good base for whatever you're going to put on top of it. And then I'm going to take my large blending brush and I'm just going to blend the area where the shadow ends on the lid just to create a smooth transition. And then I'm going to go in with my darker shade. Now there are a couple to choose from in this palette, but I thought that I would choose the black just for the purposes of illustration. So I'm going to take a little bit of that on a pencil brush, and you just need the tiniest amount, and the idea is just to start with very, very little and you can then build it up. So I'm going to take a little bit of that on the brush and I'm going to tap off the excess, and then I'm going to start applying it from the corner into or onto the lid and putting the bulk of the shadow on the corner, and then with what is left on the brush I'm just going to line the lash line, and I'm going about a third of the way along the eye from the outer corner. I'm going to take a little bit more of that black, and again just putting the bulk of it at the outer corner, just in patting motions, and then I'm going to stamp a little bit just around the crease. So I'm making a C shape, but just very, very lightly. I just want a little tad of color on there because I am going to blend it out into the crease, and then with whatever is left I just line the upper lash line. So I've got a little bit of color here in the outer corner, and I'm going to blend that in and out, so it's just going to create a little bit of a shade above my outer corner. So I'm taking my large blending brush and I'm just going to blend that as much as I can, and then taking my crease brush again with whatever's left on the brush, I'm not adding any more product, I'm going to use that to blend as well, and this will just take whatever's left of the transition color and it will blend it into the black, just to give you a nice blend. And don't worry if it doesn't blend absolutely perfectly, because you're not going to see the line when my eyes are open, but you are going to see just a wash of slightly darker color on the outer corner of the eye. And then I'm going to go onto the mobile lid, and you can use a matte shade or a shimmer on the mobile lid. I like to use a shimmer. So taking the same palette, I'm going in with this shade over here. It's a champagne-y shade, and I'm going to apply that with my finger. Taking my pinky, and I'm just going to apply that from the inner corner across 2/3 of the lid. And this just helps to open up the eyes. And then when I'm happy with that, I'm going to take the pencil brush again, and I'm going to use a little bit of the dark color just to define the lower lid. I'm not going to go in with the black because it's a little bit harsh, but there is a lovely dark chocolatey brown shade in this palette. So I'm going to use a little bit of that just to create a little bit of extra definition. If you didn't want to use a dark shade, you can just line with a transition shade, just to give the slightest hint of definition. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of that chocolate brown, just tapping off the excess eyeshadow, and then I'm just gently brushing it on the lower lid. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to apply some mascara, and I'm going in today with my L'Oreal Unlimited mascara, and I'm going to apply 2 coats of that. And so guys, that is the finished look. So it's nothing complicated, and with a little bit of practice you'll definitely get the knack of it. Let me know what your eyeshadow concerns are below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Ciao, ciao.